The war was finally over. Years of fighting between humans and the Xelari had left many planets broken, and many lives lost. The stars were quiet now, but the hurt still lingered. In a small base on a neutral moon, far from Earth and Xelar, a new kind of meeting was about to happen. It was a meeting that might change everything. Rin was a human warrior. He had spent his life in battles. He was strong and proud. He carried the weight of his past with him like a heavy shield. He did not trust the Xelari, not after what had happened during the war. Still, his job was clear. He was to escort a Xelari envoy to the base. He did not expect to meet a single alien woman who would change his world. When Rin first saw her, he stopped for a moment. She was tall and graceful. Her skin had a soft silver glow, like the moonlight reflecting on calm water. She had strange markings on her face and arms that shone softly. Her eyes were bright and calm, but full of something hard to understand. She did not look like a soldier or a diplomat. She looked like someone who had seen much pain but kept her calm. She stepped forward, her voice low and steady as she spoke to Rin. "Come closer, human. Let me see what strength remains in your kind." Rin felt a chill run through him. Her words were not a threat, but a challenge. He did not move back. Instead, he took a step forward. He could not explain why. There was something in her voice that pulled at him, made him want to prove himself, not just as a warrior, but as a man. The other soldiers watched quietly as the two stood close. The woman's eyes did not waver. She looked right into Rin's soul. For a moment, the years of war, the anger, and the pain seemed to disappear. All that was left was a silent question between them. Rin was not used to silence. He was trained to act quickly and decisively. But now, he felt the strange pull of stillness. He wanted to say something, but the right words did not come. The woman smiled slightly, almost as if she knew the battle inside him. "My name is Alen," she said. "I am here not to fight, but to listen. To understand. Can you do the same?" Rin nodded slowly. "I am Rin. I will do what is needed." They walked together into the base. The hallways were filled with quiet people, some watching them, some ignoring. The tension was thick, but neither spoke of it. They both knew this meeting was more than just talk. It was the start of a new path. Inside the meeting room, leaders from both sides sat waiting. Rin stood by the door, his hand near the holster of his weapon. But Alen did not carry a weapon. She only held a small device that blinked softly. It was a translator, a sign that words would be their tool, not guns. The leaders began to speak of peace, of rebuilding, of trust. But Rin's mind was not on the speeches. He kept looking at Alen. She was quiet but alert, watching every word. When their eyes met again, she gave a small nod. It was a silent message. This was not just politics. It was personal. After the meeting, Rin and Alen were left alone in a small room to rest. The silence returned. This time, Rin broke it. "Why did you say those words to me? Come closer, human. What did you mean?" Alen looked at him with those calm eyes. "I wanted to see if you still had fire. If you still believed in something beyond the war." Rin frowned. "I don't know anymore. The war took everything. Friends, family, hope." Alen nodded slowly. "I lost much too. But that is why I am here. To find new hope. To find strength in those who survived." Rin felt a strange warmth in her words. He had spent so long guarding his heart that he almost forgot it could feel again. "And do you think I have strength?" She smiled softly. "I do. But strength is not just about fighting. It is about standing for what is right, even when it is hard." Rin looked away, thinking. For the first time, he saw the war not just as a fight to win, but as a battle for something greater: peace, trust, and maybe even friendship. Outside, the stars shone bright, silent witnesses to the fragile hope growing between two warriors from different worlds. The moon base was just a small place, but here, something new was starting. A chance for humans and Zilari to come closer, not as enemies, but as allies. Ren stood by the window, watching the stars. He did not know what would happen next. The war was over, but a new challenge had begun. The challenge to trust. To understand. To find strength not in weapons, but in connection. Alan joined him by the window. Tomorrow, we face many talks and many tests. But for now, rest. Ren nodded. Rest. Yes. I think I will. They stood together quietly. Two warriors from different worlds, brought together by chance, challenge, and the hope that maybe, just maybe, they could build something better. The night was calm, but inside Ren, a fire burned again. Not the fire of war, but a fire of something new, a fire of courage, and the will to come closer. The next morning, the air on the moon base was still and quiet. Ren woke early, his mind still full of thoughts from the night before. He remembered Alan's words, how she said strength was not just fighting but standing for what is right. That idea stayed with him as he prepared for the day ahead. He found Alan waiting outside the small room where they had stayed. She was already dressed in her simple clothes, the silver markings on her arms shining softly in the pale light. Her eyes met his, calm and steady. "Are you ready for today?" she asked. Ren nodded. "I will do what I must." They walked together through the base's long corridors. People stared as the two walked side by side, a human warrior and a Zilari woman. The war had ended, but old feelings were slow to fade. Some watched with hope, others with suspicion. Alan did not seem to care. She moved with quiet confidence. Ren noticed how she listened carefully when people spoke, even when the words were cold or angry. She was trying to understand, not judge. They reached a large hall where representatives from both sides had gathered. Today's talks were to be more serious. They would discuss sharing resources, rebuilding damaged planets, and how to prevent future wars. As the talks began, Ren stayed near the back. He was there to protect, but also to watch. He wanted to see what kind of peace could come from these talks. Alan took her place among the Zilari delegates. She spoke clearly and calmly. Her voice was not loud, but it held power. She asked questions that made people think. She did not speak for her people alone, but for a future where both humans and Zilari could live without fear. Ren listened closely. He did not agree with everything she said, but he could see she wanted peace. That was enough for now. After hours of talking, the mood in the room was tense. Old wounds had not healed overnight. Some speakers still blamed the other side for pain and loss. Alan stood quietly, watching carefully. When the session ended, Ren and Alan left the hall together. Outside, the cold air was a sharp contrast to the warm room. Alan stopped and looked at Ren. "You are quiet," she said. "What do you think of these talks?" Ren hesitated. "I think many want peace, but fear holds them back. It is hard to trust after war." Alan nodded. "Yes. Fear is strong. But we cannot let it control us." They walked slowly through the base. As they passed a small garden, Alan stopped again. She turned to Ren with a serious look. "There is something I want to show you," she said. Curious, Ren followed her to a quiet corner where a hollow projector sat. Alan activated it, and a three-dimensional image of a distant battlefield appeared. It showed ruins, smoke, and broken machines. "This is my home world," she said softly. "During the war, it was almost destroyed. Many lives lost, families torn apart. I was a leader once, but I lost faith in the fight." Ren looked at the image. He could feel the pain behind her words. Why did you come here, if you lost faith? Because peace is harder than war, Alan said. It requires courage to stand in front of your enemies and say, I want something better. Rin thought about his own past. He had fought many battles, lost friends, and buried hope deep inside. But hearing Alan's story made him realize he was not alone in his pain. You are stronger than you think, she said, as if reading his mind. Rin looked into her eyes and saw no challenge this time, only understanding. As they continued their walk, a sudden alarm sounded throughout the base. Lights flashed red. Both humans and Zilari soldiers rushed to their stations. Rin's hand moved to his weapon quickly. What is happening? Alan's eyes narrowed. Unknown attackers. We must be ready. The base went into lockdown. Rin and Alan were assigned to lead a small team to defend an outer wall that guarded the base. As they moved, the tension between them shifted from quiet curiosity to focused determination. At the wall, they stood side by side, watching the dark horizon for any sign of danger. The silence was heavy. Then, suddenly, small ships appeared, moving fast and low. Enemy fighters, Rin said, raising his weapon. Alan activated her own defense device. We fight together, she said simply. The attack was fierce but short. Rin and Alan fought with skill and speed. They covered each other's backs, moving as one. For the first time, Rin felt something he had not known for years: a connection, a trust. When the attackers retreated, the base was safe, but the warning was clear. Not everyone wanted peace. Someone was still trying to destroy it. As the soldiers returned, Rin and Alan stood quietly. The tension between them was different now. It was no longer just the weight of the past. It was the promise of something new. Alan looked at Rin. You did well today. Rin nodded. So did you. For the first time, a small smile touched his lips. He wanted to ask her more questions, to understand the woman who challenged his control, but the night was coming, and with it, more challenges. The stars above the moon base shone brightly. Two warriors from different worlds had faced danger together. The fire inside Rin burned a little brighter. He knew tomorrow would bring more talks, more tests, and maybe, just maybe, a chance to come closer. The attack on the base had left everyone on edge. Rin and Alan knew that peace was not just a choice, it was a battle that had to be fought every day. The morning light was cold and gray as they gathered with others to repair the damage and prepare for what might come next. Rin felt the weight of his armor more than usual. The fight had reminded him that danger was still near. But something else stayed with him: the feeling of fighting alongside Alan. It was new, but not unwelcome. Alan moved with calm determination. She seemed almost at ease despite the tension. Rin watched her carefully. She was strong, but he wondered what drove her to keep going after so much loss. We should talk, Alan said quietly as they worked side by side. Rin nodded. He knew the silence between them had been growing heavy. What about? About trust. About why we fight now. They found a quiet place away from the busy repair crews. The cold air bit at their skin, but they did not move. Instead, they faced each other. I was a leader once, Alan began. I commanded many soldiers. I believed in the fight for my people. But then I lost everything. She looked away, her voice soft. My family, my home, my hope. The war took it all. Rin listened closely. He knew the pain of loss too well. I fought for Earth. For my family. But the war took them from me as well. Alan's eyes met his again. That is why I am here. Not just as a Zilari, but as someone who wants to end the pain. I want peace. Rin sighed. Peace is hard. It means letting go of the anger. But sometimes, it feels like that anger is all that keeps us alive. Alan smiled faintly. That anger can be a prison. I want to break free. Before Rin could answer, a sudden alarm interrupted them. A small scout ship was signaling an emergency. The base was not safe yet. Rin and Alan rushed to the command center. They found out that the attack had been just the beginning. Unknown enemies were gathering nearby, planning a larger strike. The leaders ordered Rin and Alan to lead a small team to scout the area and find out who was behind the attacks. It was dangerous, but necessary. As they prepared, Rin felt a strange mix of fear and determination. He looked at Alan. "We face this together." She nodded firmly. Together. The scout ship took off into the dark sky. The stars stretched endlessly above them. Rin and Alan sat side by side in the small cabin, the hum of the ship filling the silence. Alan broke the quiet first. "Do you think we will find answers?" Rin shrugged. "I don't know. But we have to try." The ship landed on a rocky planet not far from the base. The air was thin and cold. They stepped outside, weapons ready, eyes sharp. The planet was quiet. Too quiet. They moved carefully through the jagged rocks and dust. Suddenly, a group of masked figures appeared, blocking their path. Rin raised his weapon, but Alan held up her hand. "Wait." She stepped forward and spoke in the Zilari language. The figures paused. Then one of them lowered a mask. It was a Zilari woman, but her eyes were hard and cold. "We are the Shadows," she said. "We will not allow peace between humans and Zilari." Rin tightened his grip on his weapon. "Why attack the base?" "To stop the weak from giving up power," the woman said. "War is strength. Peace is weakness." Alan shook her head. "You are wrong. Strength is in unity, not destruction." The shadows moved to attack. Rin and Alan fought side by side, their movements quick and sharp. They covered each other's backs as they pushed the enemy back. The battle was fierce, but the shadows retreated into the rocks. Rin and Alan knew this was only the beginning. After the fight, they sat on a rock, catching their breath. Rin looked at Alan. "You fought well." She smiled, tired but proud. "So did you." They sat quietly for a moment. Then Alan spoke again. "The war was easy compared to this. Now we fight for trust. For a future." Rin nodded slowly. "And it is harder because no one knows if it will last." Alan reached out and touched his arm. The touch was light but full of meaning. "We will stand together. We have to." Rin felt a warmth spread through him. For the first time in a long while, he believed in something beyond the fight. He believed in hope. As they returned to the base, the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the land. The war was not over, not really. But two warriors from different worlds had found a way to stand together. And that was the first step toward peace. The hidden caves on the moon were cold and silent. After the recent battle, Rin and Alan had taken shelter there to recover. The cave walls glowed faintly with minerals that caught the dim light of their lamps. Outside, the stars shone brightly in the black sky, but inside, only the quiet crackle of their small fire broke the stillness. Rin sat near the fire, staring into the flames. He felt tired in a way he had not before. The fight had tested his body and mind. But it was the questions inside him that felt the heaviest. Alan was sitting across from him, her silver skin catching the firelight. She watched him closely. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then she broke the silence. "You carry a heavy burden, warrior." Rin looked up, surprised by her words. "You think I do?" Alan nodded. "You do not speak much, but your eyes tell a story. The war has left marks on you." Rin sighed. "It has. I lost many friends, and I lost faith in what we fought for. Sometimes, I wonder if the war was worth it." Alan's gaze softened. "I understand. I felt the same way once. I was a leader, leading many into battle. But one day, I realized that the fight was not winning anything. It was only causing more pain. Rin leaned forward, curious. What made you stop? She looked away for a moment, then back at him. When my home was destroyed, and my family lost, I asked myself why we kept fighting. The answer was not clear. The pain was too great. But then, I found hope in something unexpected. What was that? Rin asked quietly. Peace, Alan said simply. Not peace as a word, but peace as a choice. A hard choice. It meant standing down, even when it felt like giving up. It meant trusting those we once called enemies. Rin thought about this. Trust was not easy for him. Years of war had built walls around his heart. But listening to Alan, he felt the walls crack just a little. Do you believe peace is possible? He asked. Alan smiled faintly. I do. But it will not come from words alone. It will come from actions. From standing together, even when it is hard. Rin looked at her. I want to believe that too. They sat in silence again, the firelight dancing on their faces. The night was deep, and the cave felt like a small world apart from everything else. Suddenly, Alan reached out and touched Rin's hand. Her skin was cool but soft. The touch was gentle, but it carried meaning. Still think you can control everything, warrior, she whispered. Rin blinked, caught off guard. For years, he had believed he was the master of his fate, his actions, his emotions. But now, with Alan's hand in his, he felt something shift inside him. I don't know anymore, he admitted. Maybe some things cannot be controlled. Alan smiled. Good. That means you are ready. The fire crackled, and the cave was quiet again. Outside, distant stars blinked slowly. Rin looked up at the dark ceiling of the cave. What happens next? Alan stood and began to pace slowly. We wait for rescue, but more importantly, we prepare. There are still many who want to see this peace fail. We will face more challenges. Rin nodded, rising to his feet. I am ready. She stopped and looked at him, her eyes serious. Good. Because we will need more than strength to win this battle. Rin thought about those words as they sat down again. Strength alone had not won the war. Now, it was trust, courage, and hope. The night passed slowly. When dawn came, the soft light filled the cave. Outside, rescue ships were finally visible in the sky. As they prepared to leave the cave, Rin looked at Alan with new respect. She was no longer just an enemy or an envoy. She was someone who had challenged him to see beyond war. And maybe, just maybe, she had opened a door to something new. The rescue ships landed softly on the rocky ground outside the cave. Rin and Alan stepped out, blinking in the bright sunlight. Their team greeted them with relief and respect. The base had been worried about them, but now they were safe. As they returned to the base, Rin felt the weight of recent days lift slightly. The battle, the quiet talks, the shared moments, it all made something inside him change. He looked at Alan walking beside him and saw not just an alien, but a person who had faced the same fears and pain. Back at the base, the leaders gathered again. The recent attack and the scouting mission had shown that peace was fragile. Some wanted to fight harder, others wanted to talk more. Rin and Alan were asked to speak about what they had seen. Alan stood with quiet confidence. The shadows are a real threat, she said. They want to destroy any hope for peace. But they are a small group. Most of us want to build a future together. Rin nodded. Trust is hard. But fighting will only bring more pain. We must find a way to connect. The leaders listened. The room was filled with tension but also a flicker of hope. Later, Rin found a moment alone with Alan. You surprised me, he said. I thought the Zilari would never want peace. Alan smiled softly. We all want peace. It just takes courage to choose it. Rin looked at her seriously. How do we build that courage? How do we bring our people together? Alan thought for a moment. We start small. By understanding each other. By sharing stories, fears, and hopes. Rin agreed. Maybe that is the real battle, breaking down the walls between us. Over the next days, Rin and Alan worked closely. They helped organize meetings where humans and Zilari could talk openly. It was not easy. There were arguments and old wounds reopened. But slowly, people began to listen. Rin found himself telling his own story. How the war had taken his family. How he had almost lost hope. Alan shared her losses too. These stories did not erase the past but made it human. One evening, as the two walked outside under the stars, Rin said, "I never thought I would trust a Zilari." Alan smiled. "And I never thought I would fight beside a human as a friend." They stopped near a quiet garden filled with strange glowing plants. The light from the plants made the night soft and warm. Rin looked at Alan. "What made you come closer to me?" She looked back at him, her eyes steady. "Because I saw strength in you. Not just strength in battle, but strength in your heart." Rin felt a warmth spread through him. It was more than just respect or trust. It was a connection that went beyond words. Suddenly, a message arrived from the command center. The Shadows were planning another attack, this time on a larger scale. Rin and Alan exchanged a quick glance. There was no time to waste. They gathered their teams and prepared defenses. The base was ready, but the fear was real. As the enemy ships appeared on the horizon, Rin and Alan stood together on the wall, side by side. "Ready?" Alan asked. Rin nodded. Together. The battle was fierce. Ships fired lasers, explosions lit the sky. But Rin and Alan fought not just with weapons but with hope. Their teams moved as one, defending the base with courage. In the midst of the fight, Rin saw Alan cover a soldier who had fallen. He felt a deep respect for her bravery and kindness. When the battle ended, the enemy retreated. The base was safe, for now. Rin looked at Alan and smiled. "We are stronger together." Alan returned his smile. "And we will build a future on that strength." That night, under the quiet stars, two warriors from different worlds stood side by side. They had faced battles, fear, and doubt. But they had also found trust, friendship, and hope. The road ahead was long and uncertain. But together, they would walk it. They would come closer. Not just as warriors, but as allies, as friends, and maybe, something more. The days following the battle passed with quiet urgency. The base was busy with repairs and preparations, but the tension never fully left the air. Rin and Alan worked closely, trying to build bridges not only between their peoples but also within themselves. Rin could see the cracks in the walls of distrust. The humans were afraid, and many Zilari were angry. The wounds of war were deep, and the Shadows' attacks only made those wounds bleed more. But amidst the fear, something new was growing, a fragile hope. One morning, Rin and Alan walked along the edge of the base, overlooking the vast expanse of stars and the quiet moon surface below. The light was soft and cold, but it was peaceful. Alan broke the silence. "You feel it too, don't you? The fear that this peace might not last." Rin nodded slowly. "Yes. I want to believe, but I worry about the ones who want to destroy everything." Alan looked at him carefully. "Then we must be the light that drives away the shadows." Rin smiled faintly. "That sounds easier said than done." She laughed softly. "True. But every journey begins with one step." Just then, the base's alarm blared. A warning flashed across the screens in the control room. Scouts had spotted another group moving closer. This time, it was not just the Shadows. A larger force was gathering, unknown ships and soldiers from a faction neither side had met before. Rin and Alan exchanged a quick glance. The war they thought was ending was changing shape. The commanders called an urgent meeting. Rin and Alan were asked to join the leaders of both sides to plan a defense. The room was heavy with concern. "We do not know their intentions," one commander said. "But their approach cannot be ignored." Alan stood calmly. "We need to send a team to meet them. To try and understand before we fight." Rin nodded. "I agree. If we attack without knowing, we might start a new war." The leaders debated but finally agreed. A small team would travel to meet the newcomers and try to talk first. Rin and Alan volunteered to lead. The next day, the small ship took off again. The stars seemed colder as they traveled to meet the unknown fleet. Both felt the weight of responsibility. When they arrived, the new fleet waited silently. Their ships were large and unfamiliar, with sharp edges and dark colors. A single ship detached and approached. From it came a man in a black uniform. His expression was hard, and his eyes showed no warmth. "I am Commander Kale," he said. "Why do you come?" Alan stepped forward. "We come seeking peace. To understand your intentions." Kale's eyes narrowed. "Peace is a word for the weak. Strength is all that matters." Rin spoke next. "War has brought pain to both our worlds. We want to avoid more suffering." Kale laughed coldly. "Your weakness will destroy you. Join us or be destroyed." The meeting ended without agreement. Kale's fleet stayed nearby, a threat hanging over the base like a storm. On the way back, the ship was quiet. Alan looked at Rin. "They will attack if we do not act." Rin clenched his fists. "We will be ready. But we must stand united." Back at the base, preparations for defense began. Soldiers trained harder, ships were repaired, and plans made. The peace they had hoped for seemed far away. Rin and Alan spent their nights discussing strategies but also hopes. They shared stories of their childhoods, their dreams beyond war. These moments were small but powerful. One night, as they looked at the stars, Rin asked, "Do you think we can change their minds?" Alan shook her head slowly. "Some may never change. But we fight for those who want to." Rin nodded. "Then we fight not just with weapons but with hope." The day of the attack came. The unknown fleet moved closer, dark shapes against the sky. The base was ready, but the cost would be high. Rin and Alan stood on the wall again, side by side. This time, there was no room for doubt. The battle was fierce and loud. Explosions shook the ground. Ships darted like angry birds in the sky. But Rin and Alan moved with purpose. They fought not just for victory but for the fragile future they had begun to build. As the battle raged, Rin saw Alan take a hit but keep fighting. His heart surged with determination. He covered her back, driving the enemy away. When the last ship fled, silence returned. The base was battered but still standing. Rin helped Alan to her feet. She smiled weakly. "We did it." He looked at her, tired but hopeful. Together. That night, the stars seemed to shine a little brighter. The road ahead was still dangerous, and many shadows remained. But in the light of that night, two warriors knew they had made a difference. They had come closer not just as fighters, but as partners in a new beginning. The first light of dawn broke over the horizon, soft and warm. After the long night of battle, the base was quiet but alive with renewed energy. Soldiers repaired damage, medics tended to the injured, and leaders met to plan the future. Rin and Alan stood side by side, watching the sunrise paint the sky in colors neither had seen before. They had survived the hardest fight yet. The unknown fleet had been pushed back, but the threat still loomed beyond the stars. The peace they dreamed of was still fragile, but for the first time, it felt real. Rin turned to Alan. We made it through the worst. What happens now? Alan smiled softly. Now, we build. Not just walls and defenses, but trust. Friendship. A future. Rin nodded. It will not be easy. No, Alan agreed, but worth it? Days passed. Meetings between humans and Zilari became more frequent. Plans were made to share resources, knowledge, and even culture. Rin and Alan became symbols of this new hope, a bridge between two worlds once divided by war. One afternoon, Rin walked through the base's gardens. Strange plants bloomed under alien suns, their colors bright and strange. Alan joined him, carrying a small book she had found in the human archives. I want to learn your stories, she said, holding the book carefully. Rin smiled. And I want to learn yours. They sat together under the shade of a tree, reading aloud and sharing memories. Each story brought laughter or tears, but always understanding. Later, as they walked along a quiet path, Rin said, I used to believe that strength meant never showing weakness. Alan looked at him thoughtfully. And now? Now, I know true strength comes from opening your heart. From trust. Alan nodded. That is the beginning of peace. Their journey was far from over, but together, they had taken the first real steps toward a better future. One evening, as the stars filled the sky, Rin and Alan stood on a balcony overlooking the base. The air was cool and calm. Alan spoke softly, there will always be those who fear change. Who cling to old wars. Rin took her hand gently. Then we will face them. Together. She smiled, a light shining in her eyes. Together. The future was uncertain, but it was theirs to shape. Two warriors from different worlds had come closer, breaking the chains of hate and fear. In their unity, a new dawn was rising. A dawn where hope was stronger than war, and peace was not just a dream but a living truth. Rin looked at Alan and knew that this was only the beginning. A new story was ready to be written, a story of friendship, courage, and the power of coming closer. The stars above seemed to glow brighter, as if the universe itself was watching and waiting for what they would build next. And so, with hearts open and hands joined, the human warrior and the alien woman faced the future not as enemies, but as allies, ready to protect the fragile light of peace they had fought so hard to find.